The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Carlos Cesar.
There you go.
I'm learning with the best.
The Three Stooges are here. But Chip, I have a special gift for you. You've been asking and asking and asking, so I have to give it to you. So prepare, because you're going to be interested.
Carlos doesn't know what that is. You do? Beautiful, CJ.
Hey, you know, we got to bring back a little nostalgia.
The old Fall, a little nostalgia. You know something? Not much has changed since the old Fall River line was here. The names of the usual cast of characters on the 6th floor has, the names have changed, but the modus operandi has not changed. It's still pie. I was going to ask you actually, because on our intro we've got the satellites tracking the world. Can we have a couple of apple pies, because we're always looking at pie in the sky here, spinning around the earth? Because again, we're back to the old same old same old. Now the mayor yesterday in the paper said, tourism director. That's just what we need. Not like we haven't done this dance before. Richard Treef, former WSAR radio personality, was a tourism director. We've had tourism directors in the past. When are they going to get it? It doesn't work here.
Well, interestingly enough, Captain Clueless did show up last night at the South End Neighborhood Association. Carlos was there, and he actually showed up for his meeting. I was stunned. And interestingly enough, somebody said, why don't you consider getting another grant writer? And he says, that's a good idea. I'll have to think about that.
Another job for a friend. Thank you.
But it was rather interesting because no matter what you said, there was no answer. And it was always pass the buck to Kathy Ann, pass the buck to Kathy Ann, pass the buck to Kathy Ann. Plausible deniability. And I have, but he was pleased to announce that Rob Betleweski has established residency in Fall River. So, it's nice to see that, we have a new resident in Fall River.
He has a residence or he has a P.O. box?
Yeah, we don't know.
He might rent an apartment, but I will guarantee you he doesn't live there. But
well, it's just very interesting. But the thing that really gets me is, we have open meeting law complaints pending against the Solid Waste Task Force for their failure to notify the public of their meetings. And the mayor last night at the South End Neighborhood Association said, and our Solid Waste Task Force is meeting as we speak. And we have this on video, so, and I will take very seriously their recommendation, and I will probably implement it. So if they say privatize, we will do it. Do you know the mayor had no clue that New Bedford does not pay an additional fee for waste management? The residents don't pay an additional fee. It's covered in the taxes paid by the resident.
In bygone era in Fall River when that was covered by our taxes.
And oddly enough, the mayor didn't even talk. He goes, that's news to me. I never even knew that. And Kathy Ann said, oh yeah, New Bedford doesn't have pay-as-you-throw. They don't pay for that. Mr. Statistics didn't know that New Bedford, a city that he constantly compares us to, didn't have
But he said very clear, I run Fall River, I don't run New Bedford.
Right.
Oh, well, but he wanted to run Fall River, but he wanted to run Fall River like New Bedford when he said, you know, the mayor's got a lot more staff than I do in New Bedford. So, but you know, that's one of the problems. You know, we can't have our cake and eat it too in this world. You know, we have a situation where, you know, this guy was elected to help straighten out the city, and instead of straightening it out, all we've got is more layers and more jobs and no fat cutting. I also heard he said there was no fat in the budget. It's like, really? You want to come in, Sam? We invite you. Come on down here. I'll show you some
and
fat.
This is the thing. He wanted to know where to cut. He goes, would you vote for, and he's asking the neighborhood associations, would you vote for a Prop 2.5 override for police and fire? Of course, we always attach Prop 2.5 to police and fire, as we know. He goes, and you know, we have to cut. That means people will be unemployed. Mr. Mayor, the city of Fall River is not an employment agency. Okay? It's not an employment agency. So why are you even looking at that? What you should be looking at is consolidation of the departments. Okay? Departments that have 4 supervisors, when they don't even need 1, should lose 3 of those supervisors.
Well, you know, the problem we have here is that, look, and I'm sick and tired of it. As a guy who lived through the threat of cuts in the fire department all the time, everywhere in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, whenever there's a Prop 2.5 override, it's always if you don't do this, you're going to lose police and firefighters. And that is the biggest scam in the world, because most of the time it gets voted down because the public is smart enough in most communities to say, well, after you've cut all the fat in the budget, after you've laid off all the dead wood, after we've tightened our belt as much as we can tighten it, then we'll consider a Proposition 2.5. Because the question is never answered. Why are we so short-staffed in fire and police, and how all these new jobs that have been created over the years are still there? But you want us to continually pay extra for police and fire. Well, as in New Bedford, they pay in their taxes to have their trash picked up. We pay for fire protection. We don't pay for a tourism director. We don't pay, listen, it's bare bones. You know what the problem is, and I'm going to say, and then feel free to weigh in, but you know what the problem we have here is? If any one of us here spends more money than we have, we're done. That's it. I call a pizza delivery guy and say, send me a grinder and a pizza, and the guy goes, okay, it'll be $20, and I say, well, I don't really have it because I spent all my money. You know what he'll say? Well, you know, go out and find some cardboard and eat the cardboard, because you know, you're not getting anything. You spent all your money because you're an idiot. You don't know how to handle your money. Well, the problem is government is a pack of idiots, and they spend money like it's an endless pool, and it is, because it's not their money. They mismanage, misspend, malfeasance, misfeasance, nonfeasance, every feasance in the world, and what happens to them? Nothing. You know what they say? Let's get some new fees. Let's get some new taxes. Let's get some more money. You know, it would be nice if we could all say, I'll spend all the money I got and everybody in my neighborhood's money, because I'll go to them and take the money. And this is what's happened to government, and it's got to change.
Let me say this. He's very proud of that 70-page release from his committee. And he's very proud to say that what came out from those 70 pages is that we've been spending more than we gain. We know that. We knew that.
And everybody did.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing that came out of those 70 pages. I mean, I can release tomorrow 100 pages. If I'm going to compare Fall River to Boston and to other towns, that's exactly what's it's on that release list that he did. But and he keeps saying it's so 4 departments, and he mentions he gives an example as a table has 4 legs, and the cuts needs to be cut. The only way they're going to cut it's from those 4. And the message I gave him yesterday on the meeting, and I feel sorry that I have to use other neighborhoods' time because he don't show up on my neighborhood, so it's like I feel bad for that.
Point well made, Carlos. Point
So
well made.
I feel bad to use other neighborhoods' time because it's plenty of people there with questions. But the point that I tried to make it across with him yesterday was, why are you even spending time figure out which department you're going to cut when you should be concentrating how we're going to bring more money into the city.
Yeah.
I don't think
spend less
Amazon,
money.
exactly. I don't think Amazon's going to make the change. I don't think, because at the end of the day, only 300 jobs going to stay in Fall River. If what I told them was, if I give you a barrel of 5-gallon water barrel, and that's the only water you have to spend the whole month. If you see a leak, you're going to seal it because you don't want to lose water. And what's going on with the city is the same thing, is the small business leaving the city. That's money out of the door that's going to be helping us paying for the bills. So every time that the company tries to expand, you need to work. It's not one shirt fits all. Every business have a different different things that asks for, and we need sometimes to change to fit that business so that business don't move out.
Well, you're 100% right, Carlos.
So that's what he needs to spend time is how can we bring more money to the city? And I told him one more idea. These people that don't pay tax and now they're over $500,000. We should take the buildings out of them, sell it for $1, because that building's going to go back on the tax rolls, okay, and that's money coming into the city.
Yeah, but Carlos, you're making way too much sense. We're talking
Oh,
about government here. Listen, we can have a one-line, one-page report for everybody who's ever gone bankrupt, and it can say, I spent more money than I had. That's all it has to say. But that 70-page report that told us what we all know didn't say how we're going to stop spending money. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, if anything, he spent more money. He's bringing on all these other people, and he constantly whines about, I need more help, I need more help, I need more help. Well, we had a 300-man fire department, a 300-man police department, DPW that was 2.5 times the size it is now. All these departments were far bigger, and we didn't have a city administrator, the mayor didn't have a chief of staff. All these jobs didn't exist. Our taxes paid for essential services, and the city went well. And then when we began to make this an employment agency, a bunch of political hacks getting jobs and spending money without a regard for the taxpayer. And it's not only, as you said, they haven't grasped the fact that we've said on this show a million times, people need money to go to businesses, to frequent businesses. Mm-hmm. They need money. And the sad part about it is, as you said, Carlos, we're not just losing the businesses that are not being successful because there's no money. We're losing successful businesses because, like the ugly American, the city just made it miserable for him, and he moved to Providence. And now we've got a restaurant, one of the most successful Portuguese restaurants in the city, one of the biggest names in the city. They're contemplating moving out because the city won't let them expand. Damn, what is going on in this city? One of the few businesses that is doing so well, they want to expand, and they're saying no to them. So they're going to move out of the city. What is wrong with this place?
That's why I'm saying that we cannot. The time that the shirt fits all, that time it's past. We are in trouble now. We need to make sure that shirt fits that person. Okay? If it's too big, we're going to change it to tie it up. And that's what I think the administration needs to start spending more time instead of going around the table to see which leg they're going to cut it. Yeah. Because it's never going to work. The way we have very low departments running in very low people, it's no way. That table never going to stand if you cut one leg short.
Well, you got to realize the size of the saw, Carlos. It doesn't have one handle. It's got 10 handles, because let's not just all blame everything on the mayor. The 9 city councilors approve all these spendings. And I will tell you, I will make a statement right here. I'm going to be looking at that budget. If that budget still has those extra supervisory positions, the money isn't earmarked for public safety, that we're spending money again on a tourism director and all these jobs that are absurd. You know, the bounty was the panacea for everything. The carousel was our tourism, and now it's going to be our ethnic restaurants. Well, I hate to be, and I'm not being negative, I'm being realistic. Look, Portuguese food is great. It's tremendous. But the reality is the majority of people, it's one of the least known cuisines, ethnic cuisines in the country. Unless you come from an area that has Portuguese people drive into the Cape in the summer to go eat seafood or go to Newport to watch the races. Are not going to pull off to eat some food they don't know nothing about. Like Federal Hill, the north end of Boston, yeah, they bring tourists in. Italian food is one of the most popular foods in the United States. You know, Chinese food is everywhere. You know, but Portuguese food, you know, you've got to bring them in and then market to come to the restaurant. They're not going to get off a road. We can't out tourist these places. And the fact is, we've got to stop this insanity. And the problem is that the city council, if they vote for that budget, I will not vote for any city councilor who votes for a budget with this kind of, as the way the budget's looking now, and with these positions in there. And if they're going to tell me we need a 2.5 override, I'm going to be out there. I'll be the first one out on the street with a sign to vote no on 2.5, because it's absolute baloney. There's no reason for it. We're spending too much. We know we're spending too much. And what have they done about it? Absolutely nothing, because guess what? What they say is, go to my neighbor. Well, guess what? We're all stockholders in this community.
You know,
and I'm pulling my stock.
Last night I wanted to just scream out, you know, hey, Mr. Mayor, shared sacrifice. Stop with the 2 people you hired, okay? He couldn't find fact. The budget for city government at Government Center is, I believe it was 10%, he said, Carlos? Was
Yes.
that what he said? About 10%, okay? You know, the funny part about it is the personnel at that department's been cut in half, yet it's 10% of the budget. Now, why don't you look at each department? You know, somebody who was sitting there said it very clearly. You know, these department heads have a vested interest in keeping their job. Okay, how come when they have a vested interest of keeping their job and they've got to make cuts, they cut the people who provide the services? All right, let's stop. You know, I'm sorry for doing it this way, but I'm not sorry. Let's start with Ken Pacheco. You have 2 assistant supervisors, 2 assistant department heads that everyone says, oh, they're wonderful, they're fabulous, oh, they're great. But that department's been cut in half. How come we need 2 more supervisors on a department that has less employees? Because, well, you know, Perry is all responsible for the snow removal. You know what, Mr. Mayor? Take that and shove that where the sun don't shine. Because let me tell you something. DCM had nothing to do with the snow removal. It was all the independent contractors, all the political payouts that were done with the companies that came in and removed the snow. That's why Fall River did a wonderful job at snow removal, and we spent more money, because all the private contractors had to do the work, because we don't have a DCM department that can do it. Further, but hold on, Chip. Further.
I just wanted to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
How did the snow get removed before we had these 2 supervisors?
Act of God, you know, magic. Harry Potter came, you know, waved his, you know, his wand. But you know, the interesting thing, and it's really sad to say this, but it's time to consolidate departments. It is time to bring them together and start losing people. And I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I understand that you don't want to lay people off. But guess what? When New Bedford privatized their trash, there was a significant savings to the city of approximately $3 million. $3 million. And every one of those employees who wanted to work at ABC hired. Several of those people went and took other jobs in the city of New Bedford. but people worked for ABC and then they all quit, or a vast majority of them quit because, again, the job wasn't like they're used to. The other problem I have, which the mayor didn't want to address, and, again, doesn't want to address anything, is the fact that the people responsible for the fiascos we're in, all right, like the CSO, ordered by the court, grant paperwork wasn't turned in because the person responsible went on vacation. But we gave him a raise and we gave him a promotion, et cetera, et cetera. And then you look, and I did this deliberately after speaking to him yesterday, and I didn't speak with him as he spoke at me. I looked at the contracts for Waste Zero and the contracts that the city has signed on waste management. Here's something the people of Fall River don't know. Maybe you'd like to know about this. The contract with Waste Zero gives us a 90-day out. Everyone talked about it. Remember, Carlos? They talked about the 90-day out clause?
Yes. And
guess what? It doesn't exist. There is a 90-day out clause. But on the addendum to the contracts, okay, Waste Zero is not responsible if Fall River makes a mistake or Fall River doesn't do something right, so they don't get an out. And the clauses in the contract are only acceptable if Waste Zero accepts them. So guess what? We entered into a contract where it's only right if I say it's right. Other than that, too bad.
Yeah, but the ironic part is that we don't even need, DPW, you have to do a study about privatization versus public, and it's a matter of opinion. But the reality is none of these, there doesn't have to be layoffs in mass, because everybody forgets one simple thing. The two supervisors at DPW, the two new captains and a new lieutenant at the fire department, that both got smaller, yet we have more management. They were all workers. Correct. Before then. So why don't we have a novel idea? If you have less people, you don't normally have more supervisors in private industry. Why don't we bump them back to a worker's position and provide more services to the community and pay them less money, because you don't have that many people to supervise. It is not rocket science, it's politics, and that's the fact. For example, we had a meeting yesterday on healthcare in the city. This city has made $12 million by taking it out of the pockets of the employees in the last 3 years. And Representative Alan Silver put it up on his Facebook page, and one of the first comments was, go to the GIC, you'll save millions of dollars. Number one, that's not correct, because the GIC has been subsidized by the state since its inception, and this year they're going to have to pump $50 million in it to keep that thing solvent, which is, and it's a terrible plan. The city's already saved $12 million in the last 3 years because of health care cuts. It's a MERA program. Where the issue was about prescription drug price manipulation. So this is the whole problem. This is one of the problems we have. Everybody eats the pablum and washes it down with the Kool-Aid. They give you these ridiculous statements like, every dollar you spend on tourism, we get $6. Show me that. As I said on one of the last shows, if that's true, we should have made like $12 million with the Holy Ghost Feast. It's the biggest feast in North America, just about. Every time when Fall River celebrates America, the city still should have about 15 million in the bank from all the Fall River celebrates America, things we had. It's crap. Those kind of things bring in people to a very concentrated area. The vendors in that area make the money. The businesses on the outlying don't make anything. Guess what? Tourism is not the answer in Fall River. Can you market Fall River a little bit? Yeah. But to have a tourism director with a budget to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars advertising to come and eat Portuguese food and look at the hatchet that Lizzie Borden, killed her mother and father with, when you have one of the, as I said, two of the best tourist attractions in the southeastern United States, Newport, Rhode Island, and Cape Cod, within 30 minutes of this community. You have to be insane. And that's the problem with the politicians in this city. They feed the public this pablum and wash it down with the Kool-Aid, and people begin to believe it. Wake up. That's why we're doing this show.
Well, here's a real kicker. Carlos, correct me if I'm mistaken, you were there last night, but the Holy Ghost Feast is happening the same week that the powerboat races are happening. And they're happening the same week that the AHA 50th anniversary of Battleship Cove is happening. And we're having the soapbox derbies, which were being a sponsor of one or two cars. So explain to me, A, who is paying for all of this police, fire, and EMS services? 2, how are we going to have enough personnel to cover Kennedy Park, North Park, Battleship Cove, and Borden Light Marina on all the same days? Further, how are we going to handle the traffic? Okay, because it's all in a huge detour. And then to top it all off, we're going to apply for a $44 million grant from the federal government, a Tiger grant, to complete a project we started because we didn't fund it. So where's all this money going to come from to support all of this? Because guess what, Mr. Mayor? The city doesn't have it. I mean, I think they're all great projects. I think they're all great events. But when you don't have the money to support them, who's paying for them? What, Michael Lund? I don't think so.
And what scheduling genius is responsible for having all those going on one weekend? Apparently, they've never done any real marketing, because if you look at even things like boxing, they don't schedule 2 mega fights on the same weekend because they're going to cut into each other's profits. And obviously, it's even a bigger problem in the city, because how are you going to provide police, fire, EMS protection? It's going to be impossible, and especially down on the waterfront. So, Carlos, I don't know. Come on, you're a neighborhood guy. What's the Flint Cup plan for that weekend? You got to come up with something.
Yes, I mean we have talked about this on AHA. We're going to be sponsoring the Thursday nights with the boxing at the Battleship. But example, when I have my block party, well, the only thing the city gives me is they're not even police officers. They're just a couple of helpers to direct traffic to be there, no police. But when I have big events like I did, the rodeo, cost me in 2 days, cost me $3,000 in police. So I had to pay the police. So I don't know how they're going to handle this 3 or 4 events on the same week at the city, but I mean the mayor should know, right? So, I mean, permits had to be pulled for that.
Yeah, you're supposed to know, but does he?
But, you know, hey, permits. What? Come on, we're going to start giving them away for free. You want to have dining on the sidewalk? We'll give you that for free. Don't worry, come in. Oh, and by the way, before the ordinance goes into effect, apply for one for life.
You were giving that for free, $30 for life. And now they want to bring it to $15 every year. So, hey, we're making $15 there.
Yeah.
Go slow, CJ.
But remember, with the
we're going to make it there.
I know. We're going to cut the price in half, and now we're going to limit it to a year. But,
yeah.
This is what we're talking about. This is the ridiculousness known as Fall River government. Mm-hmm. And, the sad part about it is when you look at the political candidates that are coming out to run, that have taken their papers out already, okay? The only viable candidate you really have, you're looking at for mayor, is Sam Sutter. And that's shameful that the city doesn't have a choice of candidates. And on the city council side, none of the incumbents have taken out papers yet. And I'm looking at them, and we've got one gentleman who I thought was going to be a very viable candidate. I just found out the slumlord. I mean, they're posting all the violations of black mold in his properties. And when you look at his support base, it's all people who haven't paid taxes to the city. So we know where that candidate's going. And then you have another candidate who's been out there knocking on the doors, and shaking the trees, and he's doing a really good job. Wow, time's up already. What do you know? And
then we have the candidate that's been running for 10 years and for 10 times straight, and they only running to have their names on the paper and eat a couple of free dishes and
That's it.
That's it. That's what we're going to get out of them.
I'm going to AHA because you're sponsoring.
I will put my gloves on.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Thank you.
Remember, no more taxes.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you Wednesday.
Yes.
On the old Fall River the old Fall River line. When the boat is landing